Hello everyone. This is the second video of working with images in Hydra, and thanks for the feedback in the previous video. I'm using microphone, but I noticed that the sound was clipping when I was testing, so I made the gain a little bit lower and I forgot to compensate in OBS. But in the previous video you can just make the volume louder and I think it should work fine. I don't hear any noise. So yes, but this one I think I set it up correctly. And last time I worked with the colors, and this time I want to show you a little bit of inspiration. Baku is amazing, he's from Japan, and what he does, he uses Houdini I think, and probably like different other tools, and he also does like JavaScript coding. Is really brilliant. Check him out on his social media or website. But one of the things I'm really intrigued is this series that he collects photos outside. I mean, okay, Japan is crazy, but this is not real. Obviously, it's just like a. I think there's like another one in here. Yeah, this is twisted version, but he kind of like works with geometry of the real world, and we're not gonna go that elaborate, but yeah, he does like really crazy stuff. Although this is from 2019, so it's AI stuff seems a little outdated, quote unquote, but it's still quite impressive. So yeah, let's see what we can work with, the geometry of the shape from photos, for example, that we can work in Hydra. And this is a little bit less impressive, but I made this series back in I think 2020 or 2021. I think it was 2020, and basically I took photos outside, mostly like tiles or these structures, and put it into Hydra and edit these, well, play with the geometry that the image already has, and how can we make kind of fake but kind of blending into the physical world. So that was kind of motivation, and I'm actually quite impressed with what I did looking back, although I could have done it a different way. Well, I would do it in a different way if I do it now. And the funny thing, you might notice that its transition is quite slow, but it's just lowering the FPS. In this case, it's 5 frames per second. Maybe just to explain what it means. So this is a little bit off topic, but if you just do OSC, it's smooth, but if you do FPS equals, for example, 3, then you see that this is not because of the video or my OBS, but Hydra is rendering only 3 frames per second. And now I forced it to do it a bit slower. So if you have like a shape and then scroll it periodically, then you would find it that it's kind of like discrete in this case. And I'm pretty sure if you delete this with the trash can, or yeah, trash can to delete it, then it will go back to normal. Oh no, actually not. That's good to know. So I guess it's 60, or from the recording, might doesn't matter if it's 30 or 60, but I'll just stick to 60. Okay. So again, always I have to start working with the image, and in this case I have it somewhere on my desktop. Yes. So I'll just copy it, and again I will put this in the description so you don't have to like try to type this whole thing by yourself. I'm not that crazy, so out. Okay, so it's kind of stretched, so just like last time I will do scaling, and this photo I think is not square, so if I do this, if it's a square photo, I think it will be fine. But since it's not square, I have to do a little bit more of 4/3 or something. I think it's correct. It might be a little bit more like this, but it's fine. Let's say it like this. And I think I really took the photo with, how do I say, straight angle or right angle, so that you see that this part is aligned with each other, like wrapping around, which is a little bit insane, my skill of taking right angle photos. Okay, so I'm gonna start with what I did in the video or in the example in the other page. This was doing the mask. So if I do it if I apply it naively, okay, this is already kind of something. It kind of works. Maybe a little bit bigger. I'll leave it like this, so you can see the kind of the frame of the, how do you call this? The tab? No, what is it called? Not the cap, but you get it. Okay, so of course I would work with this feedback to make kind of interesting shape. And so the way it works is you just take the previous frame, 0, and layer it. Layer the new one on top of it, or new, or I don't know, fresh image on top of it. And if you do this, it's just like drawing on top of the same part, so it doesn't do anything. But if you do, for example, scroll X, and if you do like feedback, you would probably like start with something very small, so that it doesn't go like crazy right away. This is kind of interesting, but in this particular experiment, you could also go a little bit more brave with the parameter. Like, this is actually okay. And I can combine it with scroll Y, or you can just put scroll X and Y. I'll just show you in a minute, well, second. So, okay, this is a little bit crazy with this weird transition happening in the background. So maybe I might just change the feedback a little bit. Interesting. What I want to say is, if you work both scroll X and Y together, you can do scroll. And this does the same thing. So the first parameter is X direction and the second parameter is Y direction. And the funny thing, just as a note, you don't have to listen to this, or it's just confusing, but when I asked OpenAI, ChatGPT, it said like to give me a Hydra example, and instead of doing scroll X and Y, it was suggesting shift, and I didn't notice that at first, so I just copied the code and run it. It didn't do anything because it was using shift, which changes the color instead of the position. So, you know, like sometimes you have to see what you trust, and you have to do fact check. Anyways, so you can already like, you know, play a lot with these parameters. Also, you can go negative, and might make it a bit smaller. And actually, like moving this parameter makes it very interesting, right? So I don't usually use these array functions as a sequencer. Yeah, but this is actually very interesting. I don't use it. Why? Because I'm a purist. So instead, I would do something like modulate. I could do modulate scroll. Actually, it's a good time to use it. And do OSC 1.1 thresh, for example, so that okay, this is a little bit crazier, I would say, maybe because of the parameter, but oh, okay, actually this is very interesting what's gradually happening in the background. Oh wow, okay, so this is completely like not intended in the video. Like I do prepare some material, but this is just like pure surprise. And of course, you can go crazy with this. I'm so excited now. If I do this, wait, I needed this. So of course you can do it both in X and Y directions, right? So X, and I'll make the frequency of the OSC a little bit like slightly different, or I mean, it doesn't have to be like multiply of one the other, but for example, what would do this? Oh my gosh, this is great. Yes. Oh my gosh, this is actually very amazing. So yeah, this is what I wanted to do. One of the things. Maybe something to note, I also use modulate to shift things around. This is almost identical. Let's say I do color 1, 0, so that modulate works in X and Y both directions, but if you want just X direction, you should suppress the Y direction with the color 0. So yes, if you don't know what I mean, I think you can watch some of the modulation videos that I made before that explains a little bit more in depth. And so in theory, this does the same thing, but there is a difference that you don't see much, but I think in a second you will see it, because interesting. I thought it would be a little bit different because modulate doesn't wrap around, but it seems it's wrapping around. Maybe I should do shape 1, 0. This is a trick to make the texture not to wrap around, because it's not always you want this like wrapping situation. See, like this is like wiping it out from the solid black in the I also noticed the gesture should be the other way around, because I mirrored the video. No, I'm not mirroring the video, but I'm watching the screen from a different side, whatever. Okay, so this makes the texture not to wrap around, and because it's not wrapping around, the texture that goes all over, the other side won't come back as feedback, but usually you don't have to keep this. And if you do this, then it just like wraps around and comes back. Yeah, so if you work with a source, it doesn't wrap around, and if you do the mask, then you can suppress that wrapping. So we don't need this now. Alternatively, maybe I just keep it simple with scroll 0.1, 0.03, and of course you can do like rotate. I would start with something small. Okay, that's very interesting. And again, I think you can have some kind of interesting animation using switching back and forth. And the interesting thing here is that I'm not doing smooth. And the same, again, in the previous example with the scroll, I'm not using smooth. I mean, you could do, and it makes this like funny, wiggly thing, but even if you're not using smooth, just switching from 0 abruptly to 0.01, because of the feedback, it takes a bit of time to kind of settle down. So you see this like funny effect. And of course, you can just make a negative number or just go a bit crazy. And let's see what's going to happen. Yeah, this I don't like. I think it's too much deformation. Okay, this is kind of cute. And perhaps I will end with something that I usually like to do, and I think I already explained in some of the videos, that is gradient. And the trick with gradient is, what if I just run it like this? Okay, this is already actually very interesting pattern happening. But what I normally do is this pixelate to 2, so that top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right they all have different colors. And, well, I think this is what I mean, right? It's just a pixelate. And I would do brightness minus 0.05 so that it has not just pushing to the positive direction, it will go to the negative direction as well. And I make it minus 0.1 so that it makes this, it's a bit like scaling effect. But something I really like about this particular version is if you do scale, and I guess you guessed it, you have to start with 1. 1 is a 0, 1 is a new 0 in scale. 1.01 would be a little bit humble. This is kind of interesting, but like this. So you can see that it has like really funny pixelation happening at the edge. And this is because it's trying to like enlarge the image every time. And of course, if you keep enlarging the texture, you will end up with low resolution. So what's different in this version is actually it's not enlarging, but it's taking a chunk and pushing it more to the corner and somehow filling the middle part. I kind of found this trick, but I still don't understand what is happening here, but something happens, and instead of enlarging, it will just like repeat the texture, and you can see that at the edge it's still crisp because it's the same scale as the original part of the image. And yeah, also like I can just play with some of the other images. If I have this, this is not that interesting. Yeah, this could be if I get the aspect ratio right. Oops. Or was it actually right? Or like this? I'm not sure anymore. So maybe it was like this, okay? Or like this. So this kind of like gives the illusion of it being tiled in the photo, which is simulated in Hydra, so that it kind of tricks the perception. To me, it looks like. I think also if I do mask with shape, third parameter is 0, then you don't see the weird edge happening. But it could add this, right? Also, like if you want to have like arbitrary edge, actually this works quite well because now it's like drawing some kind of artificial line on top of it, but it looks like it's coming from the photo. Yeah. Well, actually, it's both. It's kind of enhancing the original. How do you say? Not a ditch, but not a slit, but yeah, this dent with adding a bit of alpha transparency. So that's that. And also another way of, this will be the last one, you could also do modulate with noise, for example. I'll just keep it small. But then again, it doesn't have much structure to it in the original image. So what I would do is, it's very simple, just pixelate it. And I don't know, 8x8, so that it starts to have some kind of structure. And again, I could do modulate scroll X so that it's only doing in X direction. We can be a little bit brave. So that's something interesting. So it's kind of pushing and making the strange tile simulated tiles. It could be also, I could also use threshold. In case of noise, it starts from -1 to 1, so the range is -1 to 1. So if you divide it, if you threshold it at 0, then it It works very nicely. I would also do modulate scroll Y, and what I could do is, let's say, just change the noise value, I mean the noise, how to say, frequency or whatever, coefficient, so that it has a bit of different movement pattern. Because if we just keep it like the same, then I think it's actually still interesting, but actually it's one cell is moving in both directions at the same time, X and Y, but if you do this, then it's a little bit more like spread out. Some of the cells are doing like horizontal movement and other ones are doing like vertical movement, and some can be at the same time. So yeah, that's it. What if I do threshold, sharp edge? This is also very weird and interesting. So I'll post this code snippet in the description, so you can start with this image and just change the parameter. You can change what happens if it's different pixelation, or can you use OSC to modulate it, Voronoi, or use other image to modulate it. That's also interesting. Or like you can combine this technique with the other video so that you can change the color at the same time. I mean, there's nothing blocking from you to do these things. So if you create something interesting, please share it in the comments below, or you can send it to me if you have my contact. And yeah, that's it. If you like the video, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.